Welcome to Lexi Show, Fashion That Gives a Damn. This week I am joined by the communications manager for I Support the Girls. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Daniela Lopez White. So, for listeners who may be new to your work, can you kind of explain what I Support the Girls does and why the focus is on bras and menstrual hygiene products?
Yeah, for sure. So I support the girls. We are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit that collects gently used bras, new underwear, menstrual hygiene products, and then other essential items, basic items such as like deodorant, shampoo, conditioner, things like socks, laundry detergent, etc. And we distribute these items to women and folks experiencing homelessness, poverty, etc. And you're right. Looking at our like outward communication, we definitely have a large focus on bras and menstrual hygiene products, and it's because these items affect like everyday dignity. And when you're privileged enough to have these items, you don't realize how hard they are to come by. In general, these items are so expensive, and like that's a very well-known fact. They become basically like inaccessible when you think about it when you're struggling, whether it's through experiencing homelessness or having to evacuate for like a natural disaster. Your brain never immediately goes, "Oh, let me make sure I have a few extra bras or pack a like box of pads." And historically, what is seen as women's needs, so bras, period products, menstrual hygiene products, etc., they often tend to be forgotten. And I Support the Girls is basically here to make sure that these items, these basic essential items, are seen as essential and that the conversations that we have like today are brought to the forefront of the table.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And I mean, it's true in general, like, in an ideal world, feminine hygiene products would be free. There is
Yeah.
nothing we can do about getting our period. And I, unfortunately, this is not an ideal world, but as someone who I have access to these things, even then I'm like, it is expensive. It is something
Yeah.
I'm like, this is insane. And so beyond that, making sure that people that aren't able to access it is so important. So how much impact has the organization had in terms of items donated and people reached?
Yes. So we were founded in 2015, so we just reached our 10-year this July. We're super excited about it, but since our inception in 2015, we've collected and donated over 41 million products, and we've donated over 5,500 vetted social organizations is what we say. So there's social service organizations. And through this, we've supported over 6 million people in need. So basically, we work with companies and brands who donate products to us in addition to individual donators who like donate their products to us, and we distribute them to social service organizations like domestic violence shelters, homeless shelters, local school pantries, LGBTQ plus shelters, and like so many more.
That is so amazing. And so October is obviously a big month.
Yes.
It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I also recently learned it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And bras carry so much symbolic meaning during this time. So how does I Support the Girls support breast cancer patients and survivors specifically?
For sure. I'd say, well, there's a bunch of different ways that we focus on breast cancer support. We receive a lot of individual donations of bras from folks who have just gone through mastectomies
Mhm.
and need an easy, like simple way to get rid of gently used bras and want to do something good with them. We're also really big on things like education and awareness. So our social media, as well as our email communication, we're always going to have like, you'll see at the end of September, we're always going to have something about like reminders about getting mammograms and breast health because you're not really like taught much about when or how you're supposed to be taking care of your breasts and yourself. And for some people, they don't know if that's like something you're supposed to talk about openly, but it is, and it's like so important to talk about openly. So we're like really big on like outward communication about that. And breast cancer patients and survivors go down like multiple sizes or go through reconstruction and changes their body completely. And when you're going through treatments like this, it can put you in a rough spot, especially like financially. And in any place we donate, especially when bras can be going to these patients, we want to include styles and sizes that are comfortable and inclusive as well. So some people will really, really need bras that don't chafe. They need like pure cotton. Post-surgery bras, we get those donations as well. And when we get these products in, we know that they're going to be supporting folks who really need them, especially when they're hard to come by.
Yeah, completely. I think, I mean, you brought up such a good point of like I like having these conversations is something that feels like taboo or something we shouldn't be talking
Yeah.
about. And I've talked about this before in podcasts, but I'm like, I literally got, I mean, I think I got sized for a bra in like middle school, and then I got resized for a bra for the first time since middle school when I was 21.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a big gap between the middle school and the 21
Oh yeah. And
year
like
old
that's
time
the
frame.
whole thing and like especially with like bra sizing and I've it's funny that you bring that up because we're looking to do like a little social media series on that because bra sizing in itself is just like it varies like so differently from like brand to brand and like when
Yeah,
you're one cup in like one brand you might be a totally different one in a different brand and like the sizing and the cups like when you go to get size they're not like really telling you like oh what does the cup size mean what does the band size mean
yeah,
and like when you're changing sizes like your cup size could change but your band size like won't change and like it's
yeah.
impossible to understand sometimes.
Yeah, which is so fun and reassuring when you're like growing and and learning about your body and like all that jazz. And so it was just like it was really interesting because I was like, wow, I've literally been wearing like the wrong. First of all, the first time I got sized was like at Victoria's Secret, which I
Right.
recommend. Like they made me feel really good about my bra size in middle school, and I was like, I was definitely not that size. It was like 32 double D, and I was like, girl, I definitely wasn't a double D in middle school because now I'm a double D. And I've
No.
definitely grown since middle school.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't, that was very confusing. And when I got resized, I was like, wow, it's like really interesting that because the place I like later went to, I think was a lot like better about explaining it to me. And they had like
Mhm.
half cup sizes and like this and that.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just it's so interesting that like also like so many of the more famous popular like Victoria's Secret was like the main brand in like lingerie and bras and undergarments, and it's like that's
Mhm.
literally owned by a man, like started by a man, like why are they like talking about breast sizes and like what do they know about that? And so later on like learning about my own, breast size and bras and bra health and how that can really impact your breast health and things like that. I was like,
Mhm.
I wish this is something that, again, is like talked about more and we have more knowledge of it.
Right.
And that it's not like this weird conversation to have, or like I have to feel like I'm like, have to be quiet when talking about this so that like over other
Yeah.
people don't feel uncomfortable or hear me. And it's like no, like this is an important thing to talk about. It's important that we have this knowledge. And if I, as someone who again have have easy access to like the internet and can look these things up, it's like so important to get this knowledge to everybody and people that don't have access to things like that.
Yeah.
And so where if I am on, if I'm a young girl or just anyone with breasts, like how what are some things that I can do to kind of like take care of my breast health and learn these things?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think there's like a plethora of different like resources online and stuff like that. You like don't necessarily have to go into a like Victoria's Secrets or any other like a Macy's I know was like really big for a while to get like sized and stuff like that. You can size yourself with like a tape measure. You can have your friend size you and stuff like that. It's really easy, but it can be like difficult and especially like talking about it. So I think following organizations and companies and influencers and everyone who is like willing to talk about those things, especially in the age of like social media really what the media that you're consuming, like you want to be finding folks who are really open about talking about stuff like this. And we're like really big about that on our social medias. And I always like make the joke, I'm like, I'm gonna have a crazy digital footprint because here I am, I'm talking about boobs and I'm talking about your breast health and your bra sizes. And I'm like, everyone on the internet's gonna know my bra size, but it's like one of those things where it's like in order to know how to take care of it and to have the conversation about how you take care of your breasts and your body and your uterus and your ovaries, you need to be comfortable enough to be having the conversation in general. So I really do just think it's like finding folks who are willing and open to talk about this and like really prioritize the conversation is a super important thing to look for.
Yeah, completely. I think, I mean, that goes for so, I think it's like also too, like, even when I go to like, this was something I had talked about with a friend, and I was like, we were very fortunately enough to travel to like Europe. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, it's so interesting because like in the museums there are like things like our I'm trying to think of a more mature way of saying like our private parts. Um, like, but those things are like I feel like in the over there and in other parts of the world, like it is again more like talked about. It's not this like taboo thing, and
For
I feel
sure.
like it's so important to be having these conversations, and I think that it's great that in the past few years not only have we talked more about sustainability and talked about sustainability in the fashion industry and how the planet has an impact and all these things and how what we can do with that, but that we're also talking more about women health. And I think
Yes.
something that I have always found really interesting is like so many of these things that these like diseases and mental health issues and all these things, like all of them have always been tested on like men. I read
And
something that was like, oh, like, how you're supposed to sleep like 8 to 10 hours or something. And it's like, well, actually, that's for men. And then I read an
it's tested on
article.
men.
It
Everything
was
is
like,
tested on
yeah,
men.
it was like the article was like women should sleep like 10 to 12 hours. And I was like, ooh, like, don't mind if I do. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, but that's so interesting because we've known our whole lives, like it's always like the 8 hours, get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. 10 hours is crazy. I don't think I've ever gotten 10 hours of sleep. Like get 8 hours of sleep a night, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. And it's like that's actually been tested on men. And then it's like we have, like we have, I think, like this conception. This is something that I've been talking about recently with like friends and family, is like OCD is one that I find interesting, where it's like, a lot of us have seen and like on social media and stuff, we've seen social media as like, or OCD is like you're super clean and like
Mhm.
you're always cleanly and like picking up after yourself. But it's like actually OCD is so many can become it can show itself in so many different ways. And that I think like the reason why we see OCD like that is because that's how it was often portrayed in like men. And then there's also, this episode of Grey's Anatomy, which I'm like never not to say Grey's Anatomy is like a great
I
like
love Grey's Anatomy.
I love Grey's Anatomy, and I'm like I know that a lot of the things that they're saying like aren't actually medically accurate. Like I know that. But there's this one episode in the later season where Bailey is having a heart attack and everyone's like, "No, your results are fine. Like you're literally fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine." And then she is in fact having a heart attack,
Yeah.
and she's, no, I know this because like women heart attacks occur differently and like can show themselves differently in women. And so
Yeah.
I would that episode has always stuck with me, where I'm like, okay, I know that like not everything is like medically accurate in Grey's Anatomy. Okay, I know this, guys. But that was like a really interesting episode where I was like, that's actually it is true. And like the way that
Yeah.
we see things and know things is because they've historically been tested on men. And so I think it's like really reassuring that we have organizations like what you guys do, and we have people that are out there talking about breast sizes and breast health. And like it's so important to make this like part, I think, of our everyday lingo and conversation so that we can kind of like get rid of that stigma that it's like taboo.
Yes, for sure.
There's my really long rant about God,
I,
I
I'm
can't
always
do it.
appreciative of a fact about Grey's Anatomy or anything like that. And like that is like it's so true. Like there's just been a scientific male model for like since the beginning of science. And there's like so much like groundbreaking research happening, and a lot of it is like based off of like assigned males at birth and like their pain scales, their like bodies, their hormones, and there's things like erectile dysfunction is so widely researched and compared to things like menopause and perimenopause, where perimenopause and menopause affects majority of people with the uterus, and
Yeah,
like it's only like just becoming a conversation because there are folks like putting it forward, but it's still like so like taboo to talk about. Like no one wants to talk about like, oh, it's like the end of like a cycle. It's like related to your period. It's women's health. It has to do with your vagina and your breasts and your hormones and etc. And like no one wants to talk about it, but it affects like more than half of the population of the world. So it's like one of those things where it's like, why would it not be talked about?
yeah,
So,
no, exactly. There's this video I remember was like blew up. I don't remember recently, whatever, at some point this past year. And it was this woman, and she was like outside, and it was a little colder out. And she literally had steam coming off of her head and her body because she was having a hot flash from menopause.
right.
And then everyone was talking about it, and they were like, oh, dang, like, yeah, women aren't making up this pain. And I'm like, why
No.
did you think we were?
What? And that's like the thing is the other thing is that like women's like pain and like our like measurements for that are like seen to be so low. And like first off, so many people are pushing babies out of their body. Like that is one of the most painful experiences on earth. And then there are things like there's like a scientific study that your period cramps can be as painful as a heart attack. And like still like people who get their periods are just taught like it's like normal pain, like it, oh, like of course it's gonna hurt, like that's normal. Having super painful periods should not be like normalized. Like yes, it is a common like experience to have painful periods, but it shouldn't be something that you just have to like deal with. Like
Yeah,
that should be research. We should be figuring out how to make that feel better. What can we do to like lessen or like cause or provide like relief for that type of pain? And it's there's like these videos about like men have
period
testing like
stimulator.
period stimulator cramps, and we did one when we were at an event, and there was this, oh my gosh, there was this guy and he was like sweating, and we were like, oh my God, you're sweating. And then he was like, yeah, like what level are we at? And our like operator, she was like, you're at a 5. And he was like, this is a 5, it goes up to a 10. And she's like, yeah, this is like the average for women. And like these men, and they're like Jack, like built men, they're helping us like pack our like van and everything like that. They're like sweating and like doubling over. They're like, I feel like I just did an ab workout or I got punched in the gut. And it's like, yeah, now imagine that. And you're also going to school, you're going to work, you're exercise, and like people, it's like exercise like helps with that. But like you're sitting in a chair and you're doubling over. Now imagine like having to go through like a daily life with pain
Yeah.
like that. So like it's just like a crazy conversation.
No, it truly, I love watching those videos because I'm like, I would say my average period is like a 10, like
Yeah.
on the scale of those little simulator things.
Yeah.
And had to go on birth control because my
Yeah.
period cramps were so bad, and like still have insane periods, and like
Right.
actively right now am on my period and
There
I'm
you go.
doing a podcast and working and going to the gym later today and going to dinner tonight, and like we're just expected, and then we're like seen as like, so now I'm just going on a whole like woman feminist, yeah, but I'm like, we're seen as like, oh, she's just on her period, like she's being emotional, or like she's, the pain can't be that bad, or like whatever. And I'm like, if men
If
had periods, like nothing would get done in the world. Like genuinely. I,
or it would be researched more, or it like
oh,
things
for sure.
would like literally if they had periods, like it would be a much bigger topic.
That's what I everyone always like, I'll always see tweets or like things on TikTok or whatever where it's like, if men got abortions, there would be an abortion clinic as often as you see a freaking Starbucks or like McDonald's in America. It's just ridiculous the difference in. in what this research is. And so I think that as someone who recently I've learned my own bra size and I've taken tests being like, I need to get this done and this done. And again, this is like, for me, I'm able to access this, and that's great. And that's so amazing that I'm able to access this. But there are people all over the world that aren't able to. And like it's so great that there are organizations out there and that we are talking about this more. I think
Yes.
it's so important. And so I think every conversation had is like just a step in the right direction. And if it can lead to people maybe like talking to their doctors or going to get their bra size or performing tests at home or doing again measuring your own bra size or doing all these things, like I think that that is just such like a win in my book.
Yeah.
um Anyways, after a long rant, I love a good rant. So obviously talked a little bit about the sustainability aspect of it, but how can donating bras during October or any month become not just an act of sustainability, but also an act of solidarity with survivors?
Yeah, you're right. It's a huge act of sustainability. Like, there are millions and tons of textiles that end up in landfills, and I know you talk about this, like it's your whole like thing. But like most people aren't aware that gently used bras are entirely perfect and able to recycle and redistribute also. So it's not only are you, helping decrease like textile waste that like horribly impacts the environment, whether we're talking microplastics or we're talking like chemicals from like incineration at landfills, but you're providing like new styles, new sizes, new comfort to folks like survivors who have never had to try those styles before, but are in need of it now and are struggling to access them. And it's just like we always say that like you're giving your bra a new life, but you're also really giving like someone else a new life. And it's often like a life, especially when it comes to solidarity with survivors, it's something that they have never had to go through before. This is like for the first time they are trying to navigate that. And specifically with the folks that we serve, it's you're navigating this and you're not having access to these things. Like we talked about how things like bras and like menstrual hygiene products in general are hard to access. Bras are so expensive, and things like post-mastectomy bras or like just getting like new bras for different sizes, like those are expensive. So when you are like shopping for new ones and you have just gone through like crazy amounts of like treatment and like spending all of this money on your health because this is what is keeping you alive, like you shouldn't have to be fighting for access to a bra, which is like a like literally basic essential item. So like when you are donating your bra, like your gently used bra, like that is giving someone access to something that is like really hard to come by, that when you have the privilege to not think about it, you don't think about it, but this is like something that all those people can think about.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's interesting that, you know, when talking about sustainability in the fashion industry, something that again I don't feel like we talk about quite as often is like the undergarment aspect of it all,
Mhm.
because I think everyone has this idea that like if it's used, you can't give it away. And it's like, well, no, that's actually not the case. Obviously, underwear is a different
That's a
discussion.
little different, but
A little different, but still there are organizations. I always get like a trashy bag in the mail, which like if I have socks that have tends to not be me, my lovely boyfriend will wear the socks until they are absolutely disintegrated. And so like if I have socks that I can't do anything with, I'll give it to them. Or if I have underwear that's been used, I'll give it to them and like they can sustainably dispose of it. So there are things that are out there that like instead of just throwing out your underwear. But I think that bras are such a great example of like honestly, I would say that y- people need these more often than, when we're donating so many piles of clothes to a
Right.
Goodwill review or to wherever. Like they get so many clothes, and I'd imagine that a good portion of those clothes, yeah, there are some bras, but like in the comparison to clothes to bras ratio, it's like not that great. And so
Right.
I think that talking about the sustainability aspect of our undergarments is so important because
Yeah.
as we bring up sustainability in the fashion industry more and more and more, that's something that I feel like I don't see quite as much conversation about. There is a great documentary that I literally have talked about so many times, but I'm gonna keep talking about it because I think it's really great. But it's called Let Them Be Naked, and it's created by Jeff Garner, who is a sustainable designer, and he like went around the world and different places in America and wherever, and did a lot of research about just like our clothes in general. But there's a great like portion of the documentary where they specifically talk about bras and how a lot of the brands, again, that are more like commonly worn bras or more like well-known bras, like Victoria's Secret, also use a lot of chemicals
Mhm.
that are not good for us. And I think that this is something that, again, not everyone thinks about. Like, yeah, we think about the sustainability aspect in terms of the planet, but like a lot of our clothes, when you buy things from fast fashion sites, like they're
Mm.
steeped in these chemicals, and our skin is our, largest organ. And just like how with your face, you want a good moisturizer and serum and face wash and whatever, sunscreen, and you take care of your face so that if you sweat that day or whatever, like whatever's seeping into your pores is not gonna harm you or cause acne or do this or do whatever. Like we need to think about that in the aspect of the rest of our body. And if something's like directly touching some of our most intimate places, um, like it's really important that they're not seeped in chemicals.
Mm.
And so that was an interesting part of the documentary where there was a woman who did like a chemical test basically on in her skin, and there was like basically it drew or like had circles on her skin and then put like different chemicals on
Mm.
each part of her skin and like saw which parts led to rashes and this and this and that, and she was having health issues, and she like realized that it was basically a direct correlation of some of the chemicals that were in her
Right.
undergarments. And so I think that's really interesting. And I also saw an article that like a lot of period panties have a lot
Mhm.
of chemicals in it to like maintain so that maintain the like non.
Yeah, there's been like a huge like conversation around stuff like that recently, especially when it comes to like period products. I know I'm not sure if it was at the end of 2024 or the beginning of 2025, but an article came out about like period products themselves. And I think the
Yeah,
big thing was like tampons and like how there was like harmful like metals in like
yeah,
tampons and stuff like that. But like it goes like right back to the whole like why was this not tested before? Why are we only finding this out now? And
yeah,
like you go into the store and you'll see like boxers for men and it's like 100% like cotton and like
yeah,
100% like sustainable like underwear and stuff like that. And yes, it is like yes, you can find that for like feminine style like underwear and like bras and stuff like that. But once again, the prices are like hiked up.
yeah.
It's like so much more expensive and like
X.
but they're important and like sometimes they're so like much more comfortable and like it's like better for like your bodies, especially when you have like whether it's like injury or like scars or stuff like that, like then you have to be really aware of what you're putting on your body. And so like that's why like having access to these things is like so important. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that again was something that like I think I had been using like tampons for like majority of my life until an article came out and it was like, wow, that's like really bad. That's like, and when you think like it's like, like it's a tampon's like in you. Like, so that's like directly seeping into things that you don't want contact with chemicals there. And it's just crazy that like that's what I find I think to be like another ridiculous part of it is like these brands that like in middle school, like Victoria's Secret, Pink, like those things, like that was like the thing. Like like it was like so cool to like if you had that, like you were cool, like whatever, like that Victoria's Secret was the thing. And I think I like got one Victoria's Secret bra and I was like, oh my God, I've made it. Like this is so cool.
No, and I feel like I feel like it's like still like that today. And we do work with a lot of like companies and like big name brands and stuff like that. But like I think one of the good things about that is that we are like actively like giving them an outlet to try to be more
Be
sustainable and
better.
try to be
Yeah.
more like to try to like be better because I think that like once you get into like their philanthropy sections and like stuff like that, and especially because we are having conversations like this, like these corporations and like brands and stuff begin to like realize like, hey, it's getting to a point. And so like we do try like very hard when we're working with these companies to be like, yes, while we work with like bras and we like really appreciate like getting bra donations, even when they have like clothing donations, we'll get like big shipments of like clothing donations and stuff like that, just because it's like, okay, it's been like worn or maybe it wasn't even sold and it's like back product and stuff like that, but it's clothing and it's like clothing that like we service a lot of like young girls and like schools and stuff like that. And like you were talking about, like even today, like they're still in schools. It's like, oh, like if you have like the brand, like that's like it and that's cool. But like, someone who grew up like financially like below the poverty line, it was like I never ever had like brand like bras or like branded like bags and like shirts and stuff like that. So like even like getting like these like donations of like clothes and stuff like that, while it shouldn't matter, and like I'm so like strict about this, like it should not matter, but it does. It
Mhm.
does still. And like having like those things and like access to those things, like it does like make young girls specifically like feel like a little bit more like I could have these things too. And like while it shouldn't, like it still does impact them. And so like we like love taking in like those donations and stuff like that because it's like one of those things where it's like it shouldn't, your access to that, especially when you're young, like shouldn't impact like your confidence in school and like your social standing in your groups and stuff like that. So just giving like everyone the ability to like access things that like people like and like people feel confident in is super important for us as well.
Yeah, and I think that's me, sorry, like me like absolutely crapping on Victoria's Secret. They're just the name brand that I'm like
They
thinking.
are like the biggest like
And
name
yeah,
brand.
they're like the
Yes.
biggest. I'm like, I'm sure they do great things as well. I'm just like, they're the ones who come to mind first. But yeah, no, like, I think that, I mean, in general, just like even, yes, completely. I think it's so important to reiterate always that like the things, the material things you have aren't what make you an important
Mhm.
human being. But as like a growing person and like there's anything with confidence, anything helps. And I think like in a world today with so much social media and things like that, like it's great to be able to give these things and have people that might not be able to access them, like the ability to access them now is so, so, so incredible. And like I will always reiterate that like the things you own and the brands you shop from, like aren't what make you an important human
Yes.
being. But I think that is also unfortunately like something that in society, like,
Yeah. And
you
it
want
takes
to have,
time to learn. Like
yeah,
it's hard to
exactly.
learn that when you're young.
Exactly, exactly. It's like, I mean, that was something that I myself had to learn where it was like growing up, everyone wanted to dress this way in my school and
Mhm.
everyone wanted to do this and go here. And it was like, I actually don't want to dress that way. I want to dress kind of ridiculously and see what works for me. And proceeded to get absolutely ridiculed for dressing
Right.
ridiculously, which actually at the time was very tame for me. Now it's much more ridiculous. But
Well, I think that's like a good point. And like bringing it a little bit like to the like fashion industry and like waste and like textile and stuff like that. With social media and with the fashion industry, we see trends like going in and out of style, and we're being told what to wear and what not to wear. And this is especially true when it comes to young women and young girls, or anyone who has like breasts, also.
Mhm.
When it comes to undergarments and styles, this means that clothes and like including bras are going in and out of style. And when they're not being used, they're like being thrown away because that cycle, it just keeps going. It's like, oh, like what's the prediction for like the spring like style? And it's like if you're getting like white baby tees, you're like, okay, I need like some bras that like aren't showing through my shirt. If that's not
Right.
what like, like if my mom won't let me out of the house and my bra is showing, I need to make sure that I have those and like stuff like that. And so like just like throwing out all of those clothes based on like this fashion industry and social media cycles and stuff like that, it's like impacting like so many things, like especially when it comes to like environmental stuff as well. And so that's why we're so big on like when it comes to like donating like your bras specifically, like we know that especially as like girls like grow too, or like bodies change, like when you're older with like hormones and everything like that, life changes and stuff like that. We know and we are so aware that like, oh, there's like sales for like, oh, 30 for 5 on like bras and stuff like that. And because you're like so into like, oh my God, everyone's going to the store, everyone's going to the mall and like buying these bras. Let me just like grab them and like everyone's there at the mall. You're ending up getting like sizes that like you don't fit or like something that you see and you're like, oh, all of my friends are getting this. Like I want to get this too. Or like it's really just like, oh, like this is cute. Like let me pick this up and you get home and you didn't try it on in the store and it's like, oh, like it actually doesn't fit right or like I don't like how it feels on like the band and like stuff like that. And it's like sitting there in your drawer for
Yeah.
months, years, and it's like you're not using it, but like you end up throwing it away like come like spring cleaning or like there's a new cycle trend and you need to make
Yeah.
sh like room in your drawers and stuff like that, but like you could donate them and like you're changing like your like someone else's life and you're like actively fighting against waste in fashion industry when you are donating things like your bras. So like it's like huge. Like the cycle and the trend of it all is like I feel like the donating aspect of it all like really helps combat that.
Yeah, yeah, completely. And I think it just also like it's such a better feeling to instead of throwing something out knowing I mean that's even how I feel when it's like, oh, if I'm supporting a small business or, buying locally or doing this or that,
Mhm.
like instead of just like going to Amazon or Shein or whatever, you get to tell a story. I'm like so annoying, like every time someone's like, oh, I like your shoes, I'm like, thanks, they're thrifted, or like I'm like, thanks, I got it on eBay. This is the brand.
Yeah.
This is what you should look up. I try to give a little bit more context so I'm not just the annoying person that's like, if thrifted, you can't get it. I'm like, here
Yeah.
tags. Look, this is what I looked up on eBay when I went to buy it. Like, but it's like, it's like there's such a power to where you spend your money and I think being able to reflect your values in where you spend your money or how you take care of your clothes or what you do with them when you're done with them.
Yes.
And like I even feel not quite as bad as if I were to throw something out, but like I even feel not the best when I like take things to Goodwill or whatever because I know that they're like so overrun with a video and someone like partnered with a thrift store and they showed the back end of a thrift store.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my God, like there's so many clothes like that's like literally makes me want to cry and that's just one place. And so like the process of being able to, like go through your closet, get one bra or a whole bunch of bras that maybe don't fit you anymore, and give them to a place like I Support the
Yes.
Girls and know that that's literally changing someone's life somewhere is such a great feeling. And I think just like encourages people to keep doing it and then tell other people to do it. And again, it's like bras aren't something that I think we always talk about in terms of sustainability, or if you give it to a Goodwill, you're like, I'm not sure if they're actually going to resell this or whatever. But
Mhm.
it's like, I think we don't realize that like these things can be given away. And if not, I know that there are like places that can take like the padding and the underwire and like literally deconstruct a bra
Yeah.
and turn it into something else, which I think is also really cool. So yeah, it's just like a double whammy of like good things. Like you're helping the planet and you're helping someone get a bra. Like, come on, guys, let's do it. What does the process look like if I were to want to donate to I Support the Girls? How could I go about it? What happens once I donate? How does that look?
Yeah, there's a few different ways that we accept like product donations. So we have something called our affiliate network, which is like basically they are amazing women that and like a few men, amazing people all over. So we have affiliate programs. They're basically volunteer directors, and so we have them all over the world. We have affiliate programs in 6 different countries, but talking about the US, like there is a bunch of different chapters and they take donations as well. So if you're like looking to like ship something in or drop off, like if you don't want to like mail something in, like there are different locations that you can find on our website, and that's www.isupportthegirls.org. But our affiliates have drop-off locations at a bunch of different places, as well as like a few of them will ship it in. Like all of their contact info is on our website, and you can look at that. But like we do drop-off locations at like stores that we work with, that there will be like local like companies that want to partner with us for like bra drives and stuff like that. So something like that is always happening. But in general, if you're just like, oh, I have like this like few that I want to send in, on our website, there's like our PO address, our PO box address and stuff like that, where you can always like our headquarters, we're headquartered in DC or in Rockville, Maryland, but it's right outside DC, so we say DC. But we're always taking donations for bras, and it's really simple. It's just like you ship them in, and basically we go through, we, not me, I do not do this, but our amazing warehouse coordinator and all of our volunteers that come to our warehouse, they go through all of our packages, and when like they sort them and organize them and wash them and then donate them out. And it's like really just like the simplest sorry, it really is just the simplest process, because all you have to do is send it in and we take care of everything else.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'm gonna freaking do that because I definitely have some bras that don't fit anymore that I just don't wear, and that is so important. I had spoken to someone on your team. I'm from Rockville, Maryland, and so
Oh, there you go.
I'm from King Farm, which I believe is like right down the
King
street.
Farm Boulevard. We always stay on a, like whenever I'm in town, I always stay in a place on King Farm Boulevard.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, it's meant to be. But yeah, I just love what you guys do. I think it's so amazing. And I think this has been such a great conversation, hitting a lot of really important topics and then letting me just like rant about. So thanks for
My
thanks for
pleasure.
sharing. So what's next for you guys? Do you guys have any upcoming projects that we should keep a lookout that you want to share with us?
We are quite literally always doing something, but our big upcoming thing is definitely just our end of the year giving campaign. We see typically the need for what we do, and like our mission is always present year round, but especially with the financial stress of like the holidays, and it gets colder and like stuff like that, the need just like increases so much. So we have a big end of the year giving campaign. This is where I will like really push for people to follow us on social media, not just because I'm the communications manager and run the social media, but it's just like our best place to keep updated with everything we're doing. And also because we definitely have a really entertaining campaign, is how I'm going to describe it, coming up. And I think it's just something that is like enjoyable for folks to watch, and like a quick, like if you're doom scrolling anyways, like here's something that you can do good with like your scrolling. And it's like a fun and like exciting way to encourage people to give. We also have, I feel like this is like a little interesting. We have a Bay Shelves fundraiser happening right now. Bay Shelves are basically like the shelves that we stock everything in our warehouses with. And you can sponsor a bay, is what we're calling it, or we're calling it Adopt a Bay, but it's basically where you sponsor a bay shelf, and you can do it with a group of friends. You can do it with your coworkers, or you can ask like your company or your workplace to do it, your book club, etc., stuff like that. And you get to name it, which is really fun. And we encourage puns. And basically, you're directly supporting and sponsoring the products that are being stocked in there throughout your sponsorship. And you get like updates about like, oh, like this like skincare passed through here, this like product passed through here, and like stuff like that. And I think it's like really cute and like fun, and especially like a good like group activity if like you and your friends have been talking about like, oh, like we want to be more active and like support like good causes and stuff like that. Like this is a way where you can split it between, because I know like especially like when you're younger, or like you have like people like talking like people in like their 20s, like it's hard to like give like $300 out of pocket, and like we're like very aware with that. And so like this is like an opportunity for you to like get like groups together and like get your friends together and just have fun with doing good.
Amazing. I think that is so important. Someone on a podcast I had was like, said that basically is like, make it fun. Make it fun, and like people will have a good time doing it, and it'll have, a message of sustainability or helping someone, but you don't even necessarily like realize that
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. You're just having a grand old time, like hanging out with people and donating bras or getting
Yeah.
involved in upcoming campaigns. And I think that's like such a great way of going. That's like what I'll do with like my content where I'm like, I'll post like an outfit of the day and then I'm like,
No.
you know that this is all sustainable.
Oh, sustainable. But yeah, I like appreciate stuff like that. And especially like making the content. I think that's like something about I Support the Girls that I loved when I joined, and they've been doing it for years. And it's just like the content, like this is a serious topic, and the folks and like the communities that we serve, like it is important to be talked about, but it doesn't always have to be like a negative connotation associated with these things. Like we are serving real people. We are also real people working here. Our volunteers that come with us are real people. And like we know that the people that we are talking to through our emails and through our socials are also real people. And so like we like to have fun with it. I think that we have like a very like witty, playful tone and like we're like very aware of that. So yeah, definitely I would say end of the year, some entertaining things coming up.
Yay! Everyone stay tuned. Okay, and on that note, I know you mentioned the website, but just one more time, where can everyone find you on social and anywhere else?
Yes. Yes. On the website, it is www.isupportthegirls.org. And on social media, if you just search up at I Support the Girls, you will likely find us or your affiliate location. When you go to the website, you can also subscribe to our newsletter, which comes once a month. It's called That Time of the Month, which I give us a pat on the back for. I
That's
think it's
so
funny.
smart. Are you kidding?
Um, but those are like the main places, and we would love to have you there. Drop a comment or a DM, and I will get back to you.
I love doing that as someone who also runs social media
Yeah.
accounts. I'll be like, message this, and you're never gonna believe it, but
And
I'm
you're, yeah.
on to you.
But it's me.
It's
You're like
actually
commenting.
me.
I'm asking you to share your period horror stories with me because it's I will be reading those and I will be screenshotting and being like, guys, look at this funny comment. And when you get a reply, that is me sending you the handshake emoji because we love like hearing stuff like that.
Exactly. I love it. Well, amazing. Everyone, go check them out. And thank you so much again for coming on and telling us about what you do. While you're at it, you can follow me on my socials. My Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are all my name at Lexi Silverstein. That's Lexy, silver like the color, Stein. And remember to live a good life and look fucking good doing it.